So when I got up this morning, I checked my messages, and there was at least 2 messages from people wondering about the dust collection and how I was able to video through that plexiglass that's on my lathe. And I thought, why not show it? Something different. So here we go. By the way, I know my workshop is messy, but if you think this is bad, you should see my kitchen. Anyway, it starts out with a 3 horsepower dust collector. I know this is a bit of, kind of overkill, but, it works great. It's hooked onto a 4-inch hose, which runs the length of my main workshop, and it goes over to the lathe. Now this box that has the wood sticking out of it, that's normally in another room. So anyway, it's quite easy to see here how it's hooked up to the actual scoop. Now normally you don't get to see everything quite from this angle, but being as people were asking, all this is a piece of plexiglass that I just sort of swing over, and then I'll put a little screw in here to keep the vibration from working it from one side to the other. It's getting kind of scratched up, so it's not as good as it used to be, but yeah, so that's why I'm able to take video down through and get a reasonable image. It's not as good as if it wasn't there, but it works. And this thing here, I threw this together in about half an hour. I just wanted something that would sort of scoop the air from right here, goes into this 4-inch hose, and well, you can see how it works. Not fancy, but extremely effective. Now my new kit isn't here yet. However, I went and I looked at some video that I did previously when I was turning the Napoleon kit, and what I can do is I can do it 2 ways. I can either go straight across from this bushing to this bushing with maybe a very, very slight little outward curve here, or I can sort of come out and sort of across and then down and have it maybe a 1/16 of an inch larger than the bushings, and I think that's what I'm going to do. The reason being is I want to have as much of this nice wood showing as possible. The smaller it gets, the less wood you're going to see. And to me, this particular pen is going to be all about this black palm wood. So I think that's what we're going to try. As you know, I am making 2 blanks, so I do have the 2 blanks, so I'll be making 2 pens. So if this first one doesn't look too good, because maybe it's a little bit too much like a cigar, like a fat pen, not that there's anything wrong with fat, but anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make this one just maybe a 1/16 of an inch larger than the bushings, and then just sort of round it over as I've done before. Well, you're going to see. I increased the RPM here as best I remember up to about 2,000. Yeah, it was 2,000. And if I hadn't have used the cactus juice process, I would have been a little bit more cautious and kept the RPM down, because wood like this I would be afraid it would fly apart. Now I know I'm bragging up the cactus juice stuff, but this stuff, it does what it's supposed to. Now I think if I'm smart, I'll do the rest with the sandpaper. There's only one little spot here where I could say that there was tear out, and it's not real bad. It's right here. It maybe only goes down well, hardly at all, but I can sort of see something and I can kind of feel it. But the rest is very, very smooth. I guarantee you it wouldn't feel like this if I didn't do the cactus juice process. But I think that's about as small as I want to get it. Now some of you will have noticed I did not use the plexiglass shield. Well, what I did was I moved the lathe in about an inch closer to the front here. And then I blocked it off here with masking tape. And the reason for that is it will increase the velocity of the air going past the blank. And I didn't feel anything coming out at me. It was getting sucked in about as fast as it could get taken off, so it worked out good. I've stuck my macro lens on here, and in a few seconds we'll be moving right in, and you're going to be able to see every little micro scratch on there. Anyway, what I did was after I did the 220 grit, I did 400, then 800, then 1500. I know it looks like it's been waxed, but it hasn't. It's only been polished by the 1500 grit. This is probably one of the most interesting woods I've ever turned. Maybe even the most beautiful, depending on how you want to look at it. Now mind you, that maple burl that I did the Emperor in about 3 months ago, that looked pretty nice too. However, this has a beauty all its own. As I said in video number 1, thank you, Jim. Well, it's about 1 p.m. and I've just checked the tracking in the Canada Post, and according to Canada Post, my package is in Winnipeg, but it's not out for delivery. Today is Friday, and that probably means I'm not going to get it till Monday now, unless I'm very lucky. Anyway, let's see what we can do here. Slow it down to about 500 RPM. I don't want to be building up heat when I've got something that's been permeated with cactus juice. This is the one that has the grit in it. Notice it's taking the metal off of the bushing. I'd like to know what grade of grit that is. Like, is it finer than the 1500 grit sandpaper that I just used here? I'll do another one. Okay, let's crank the RPM a little bit here and see if we can get a little bit of shine going here. Well, it's not going to look a whole lot better than that. But I'll put a few more coats on anyway. Well, I think that's about as good as I can get it. I gave it 4 coats of the Shellawax. I'm going to have to go over it again anyway after I round over the ends. But that looks pretty nice. It's almost as shiny as an acrylic. That wood is quite dense. At least it is now after the cactus juice process. Okay, now just to round over these sharp edges just a little. Now I was hoping that I would be able to say, well, tomorrow we press, but I guess it's not meant to be.